Right, welcome to this Codex review for Dark Eldar. The new Codex is here and it looks very nice indeed. And I just got my Codex through from gamingfigures.com. They do Games Workshop stuff, 140,000 at a discounted rate. So it's 15% off Games Workshop, and then if your order's over £100, I think they give you an extra 5% on top of that as well. So that's a decent enough discount from them. And they've shipped it through, and now I'm going to do the review for this. I've already got Dark Eldar, and they haven't done particularly well. So the new Codex has come out. It's exciting times to take a fresh look, fresh overview of them, and then develop a new tactica, a new gaming philosophy for the Force, and then add some units in, take out some ones that haven't done particularly well. So hopefully we'll see a new Dark Eldar Force appear on the channel. And the first stage is to review the Codex here as we develop the Force. It's going to be interesting, this Codex review. A whole revamp of the army is what I'm doing at the moment. I've already been collecting Dark Eldar. Been quite disastrous results with them. Then the new Codex has come out. I think Dark Eldar a lot better now. And my army's going to be revamped and changed around, and we're just going to run through the Codex, going to look at all the different units, new rules and things that have been brought out, what units are good, what units are bad, just my opinion. So I'm not going to cover every unit, every single rule, but from this you'll get an idea of the new direction that I'll be going with this Dark Eldar Force. Just a special mention to another YouTube channel, Scourge, and he would be really the #1 YouTube channel specifically for Dark Eldar. If you want to know more about the Dark Eldar and see more tactical on there, more advice for Dark Eldar, then go over to his channel, Scourge, and there's battle reports in there as well. But he's very, very good, and his videos have been helpful as I've been trying to get this Force, because I really enjoy playing Dark Eldar, very, very much enjoy playing them. One of my favourite armies, visually very nice looking, excellent sculpting on the miniatures, but I just want to make the army a lot more competitive. So the first step is the Codex, and then the next video that comes along will be a tactica. You'll see the new army, which is almost done, and then hopefully some battle reports with some victories for them as well. So it's the Codex first, and that's what I would advise that you do. If you're thinking of starting to collect Dark Eldar, you buy the Codex first. That'll give you all the units, all the rules, and you just take your time. And then people have asked us, what do I get next after that? Next stage would just be, I would say, choose your favourite unit out of all the units in the book and go for that, and then start to bulk out your Force with some troops and an HQ. Get yourself a small little army, aim for 500 points, and then just build it up from there. Get some gaming experience, and that will shape the way that you build your Force. So beautiful artwork on the front cover. Very nice productions now, the Codexes that Games Workshop do. Every single one of them looks really good. The Dark Eldar one, especially, I think looks really, really nice. That nice ghostly armour, which I've tried to reflect in the colour scheme for the Dark Eldar Force that I'm collecting. I'm just going to run through the Codex in order, which will be a slightly different order to other Codex. We've used the old layout that they had, but it's nice now, full colour. It's nice new models. Excellent piece of artwork, that one. It's the kind of feel that you want to your Dark Eldar Force, sort of a terrifying pirate raider kind of army. A lot more room in these Codexes now, I think, for background storyline, which is good. Loads of space here used for colour schemes, for different colours. Come through. You can't fault the production. Love particularly like this illustration here with the Imperial Guard getting ambushed, the units trying to get out of the backs of the chimeras and then being ambushed and assaulted before they even got time to get out. That's the way you want your Force to go, is that you hit your enemy so fast that they don't have time to react. That would be a good tactic for Dark Eldar. Some new illustrations in here. They've done quite a few new ones. This one, Dark Eldar versus Tyranids. The game we haven't played yet, but I imagine it'd be great fun. So coming through, very well organised, loads of background information. Particularly nice one here, Dark Eldar versus Orcs. Again, another game you often wouldn't think of, but imagine it'd be very good fun indeed. Two assault-based armies fighting it out. That's the previous artwork from the front cover, which has kind of influenced me for the colour scheme that I went for, with this ghosty arm and then this lime green colour coming through. Selection of the units. As I said before, I would always visually look at units and choose ones that I really like. So I've got to have those in the army, like Reavers really like the look of them. They had to be in the Force. I would advise you to do that with a couple of units. Incubi I really like the look of as well. I've got a feeling that a lot of these armies here aren't studio armies from Games Workshop, but they are other people's own personal collections. Here, this one as well, I don't think is a studio army for Games Workshop, nor these ones. All those. This is the studio one, I believe. So, war gear list, just the list of points. We'll just skip over that and go straight into Archons. So we're on HQ, and I still rate the Archon. There's excellent baseline here of stats. The only thing is the toughness and the save. You can counter that by taking the Shadow Field, which is a 2+ save, and the Shadow Field has improved now, which is something that Scarcast pointed out. I'd never have noticed it. Would have breezed over it. Shadow Field confers a 2+ invuln save, which is absolutely superb. That's in combat and in shooting. The Shadow Field save is lost for the rest of the battle at the end of any phase in which the model suffers 1/1 save wounds. It's the end of any phase. So you've got a pile of shooting come through, you foul one of those saves, as long as he's not instant death, then he'll keep that 2+ save until the end of that phase. Same in close combat as well. He doesn't instantly lose it, it's only at the very end of the combat, so it just makes that a bit more better. So it's worth taking. So Archon Shadow Field is what I would do, and then give them a good weapon, close combat weapon, if you're going to use them that way, which you want to. You want to use them in combat, so we often go for the Agonizer so you can take on enemies of any toughness. So I think the Archon's good. Out of all the HQs, I'd say it's one of the better ones. It's not too heavy in points. You can equip them pretty good, and their stat line is very good indeed. Haywire Grenades is another little upgrade that you can give them. So you've got that ability to, you can throw a Haywire Grenade and then you can plant one in close combat as well. And it's a handy way of taking on vehicles. Court of the Archon, not really looked into that. Nice models to add to an Archon. I'm not really going to go down that route. Try to keep my HQ choices cheap for this Dark Eldar Force. I think the strength lies more in the unit as opposed to really good HQs. It depends, some armies, their HQs are things that can win you the games, but for Dark Eldar I'm not particularly convinced their HQs are that amazing. Succubus was looking at that, the model for it, the new model, plastic kit looks really, really nice. And you can, points wise, it can come in a bit cheaper than an Archon. You got 75 points. I then would go probably for an Archaic Glaive at 20 points. So you can use it two-handed AP2 +1 strength, which is very good, or single-handed AP3, and then you'll get the bonus attacks on a base of 4, 5 and then 6 on the charge. You give other weapons as well, and 4+ invuln, just like witches in close combat, which makes it pretty good as well, but still generally soft, toughness free, 6+ save and shoot him. You can bury in a unit, it's the safest way to use one of those. But it's kind of a throwaway HQ, one that you can chuck into battle, and then if she dies then it's not too much of a problem. Lev's pretty good, but her downfall would be strength and toughness free again. This is what's put me off the HQ choices for Dark Eldar. In previous games I have been pretty happy with the way the Archons have performed. That 2+ invulns worked well, the Agonizers worked well. I remember one taking out a Wraith Lord in one of the Dark Eldar versus Eldar game. So good enough as they are. The left's alright, but the points start to bump up, 150 there. I'm not going down the route of these, the Covens, not going down that route, so I haven't really looked into these ones. The theme for mine is just sort of more of a Carbolite sort of influence. And then Drazar, probably put off by the old sculpt on that one, and it's 190 points as well. It's probably very good, but if they had done a new sculpt, perhaps a bigger sort of miniature would look nicer. But not looked into that. 200 points, 190 points too much for HQ. So on to troops now. So you can see in the fact, well, the way I'm looking at it is my HQs aren't too strong. So it's other units that I'm going to be depending on to be the game winning units. The HQs I'll just use as like a supporting role, not game winning type role. Alright, so Carbonite Warriors, they're still as good as they ever were, except they dropped in points there, only 8 points each, was a very good cost in points for them. And you can still arm them very well, it's pretty much the same setup as it was, and I've seen people use these and doing very good combinations, and the points cost is pretty low. So Carbonite Warriors can form a good backbone for your force. I don't think that's going to be the direction I'm going. I did have a small unit, and they've always frustrated me because I use them to try and hold objectives and they just get blown away. They get burnt out by flamers or just picked on, and it's not really how I'm going to want to use my Dark Eldar force. I want it to be more assault based as opposed to shooting defense. So Carbonite Warrior has been put off by those a little bit in recent times. So the next troops choice you can go for, but as I said, that's just personal opinion. I know people use Carbonite Warriors very effectively in their force, but just the direction that I'm going down would be more towards witches. Still the same points cost, they're 10 points each. You can't give them haywire grenades anymore, which is very, very annoying. I used to really like having the haywire grenades there. You can still give haywire grenades to the Hecatrix. So she gets the haywire grenades, and then if you do charge a vehicle, you could use your plasma grenades and try and get glancing hits on the rear armour. So it's still possible to take on vehicles, but they're not as deadly towards vehicles now. So their role more will be tying down other units, other infantry units, trying to pin them down whilst other Dark Eldar units move in for the kill. So still going in that direction. I'm going to try and keep the points cost of those down, and then for either troops I recommend that you don't run them on foot, but I think mechanised will be important now for the Dark Eldar forces. So Incubi, probably the most the main unit I'm mostly excited about. I've already got a unit 10, but their points cost has come down, I believe. I think they were 22 points each, now 20. And what has made them much better, they've clarified the rules, they are AP2 now, which makes them Terminator killers, which is excellent. They get that +1 strength for the weapon they carry. They've got that 3+ armor save, and they've got the base of 2 attacks. And then what has worked out even better for them, which I think is a brilliant bargain, and that is you can upgrade one of them to a Clavex for 10 points, and for that he'll get higher initiative, an extra attack, an extra weapon skill, goes up to weapon skill 6, and then on top of that, without paying any extra, he will get Rampage. That's D3 extra attacks. So I think that's an incredible bargain there for 10 points, and that has pushed me more in the direction, instead of taking a big unit of Incubi, which they run out, they charge, they decimate their unit, it's a bit of overkill. Because you can take this upgrade here and have a single figure that's got a lot of attacks and he can be protected by others, I think 2 smaller units, each having a Clavex, would be more effective. So you've got 2 little units that can run around hunting enemy units. So I would take 4 or 5 units of 4 or 5, definitely upgrade him to the Clavex. I think the Demiclaves is a very expensive upgrade and I wouldn't bother with that. Keep the costs down, and you've got quite a lot of attacks for just a very small unit, but again I wouldn't mount those on foot. They're going to need to be mechanised to get around the table. Mandrakes, nice models, haven't gone in that direction, but they are pretty good. They've got stealth and shrouded, and they're able to infiltrate, so they'll be able to flank as well. And they're cheap enough at 12 points each. they're on strength 4. And they've got this bow blast, which is a good shooting attack. It's 2 shots, range 18. So imagine them turning up on a flank and causing a lot of trouble. So mandrakes are tempting to go for. Strange looking models, and I think they'd be a good part of any Dark Eldar force. Racks and grotesques haven't gone down this route, so just going to leave those there. And then Beastmasters, just the nice models. This one's particularly good. And then the Razorwing flock was one that I was very interested in having, but just haven't gone down that route for those. There's great potential in there, but they're not in the force, I don't think. And then on to transports now. I've had a strong feeling that I need to mechanise my Dark Eldar force so that anything that's infantry has something to transport it about the table. I think that's going to be vital. So raiders, if your units are bigger, then take raiders. So if we've got unit 10 witches, then they can go in raider. And then you can choose, both the weapons here are good. You can take the Dark Lance or Disintegrated Cannon. Both are very good. The Disintegrated Cannon I think is excellent. It's very tempting to try and swap those out and use those on the raiders that I have. And it's cheaper if you do it as well, because it's 5 points now to upgrade the Disintegrated Cannon to a Dark Lance. 55 points to the transport there, and then Venom's 55 points, smaller capacity, 1 less hull point, but you get the flicker field with it, and then you get the splinter cannon. And then that, I did have one in the previous force, using it as fire support, so I gave it an extra splinter cannon and just able to chuck out a lot of shots. I think 2 or more of these in a force, fully upgraded with the weapons, and you'll be able to chuck out a lot of supporting fire at long distance. And then whatever they're carrying you can use later on. They're going to close in for the kill. I think a unit of Incubi, unit 4 or unit 5 would go very well in one of those. Keep that back, keep it out of trouble, and then sort of turn 4, 5, 6, that kind of time, then zoom them in and send in the Incubi to wipe out remaining units. So Reavers, one of my favourite units in Dark Eldar Force. You know, I looked at Dark Eldar to collect them. Love the look of the Reavers. Brilliant sculpt, excellent design for those jet bikes. But the way to use them now has changed. The rules have changed for them. So you have to use them in a different way. Points cost has come down. I think they were over 20 points each. They're now 16. So their cost has plummeted, which is very good news indeed. And they've got Skilled Rider, which is, I'll give them a bonus, I believe, for their Jink, which is excellent news. They've got Hit and Run. You have to remember that rule. So if they get caught out somewhere, they can pull away from a combat and then move off on their turn. And the Blade Veins rule now, it's not where you fly over a unit and cause casualties. It's just incorporated into the Hammer of Wrath special rule. It's strength 4 rending now, so it's not quite as good as it was in my opinion. The upgrades are the same for every 3 models, so I've got 9 of them in my unit. I can take 3 Heat Lances or 3 Blasters. Something I found here with the Reavers though, I think it's the route that I'm going to go down. I had paid in the old list 12 points each for Heat Lances, but that meant I had to zoom. Often these are right at the far end of the table, and then to get to that vehicle I'd have to move a long distance, and if I had to move that far then I couldn't fire the Heat Lances, couldn't get close enough. So it didn't really work, ended up hardly ever using the Heat Lances, and it was a waste of points. 36 points wasted in total. So I dropped that upgrade out of the new unit of 9, but then checked out the new rules for cluster caltrops, and it says here that a model with cluster caltrops, and you've got to remember that the new Blade Vein rules is 1 attack, Hammer of Wrath, strength 4 rending, But a model with cluster caltrops makes D6 hammer off attacks, which is brilliant. And they're resolved at strength 6, and they have the rending special rule. So all of a sudden, you take not one cluster caltrop, but you give 3 of them to that unit. You've got 3d6 hammer of Wrath at strength 6 and rending. If you average that out, that's going to be about 10, 11 attacks at strength 6 rending. You're going to blow a vehicle up if you hit it rear armor. So I think that's a superb upgrade. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's an excellent upgrade to take for Dark Eldar Reavers now. So that's Reavers. I was really disappointed when I saw the rules. I was going to keep them in the army, and then I was disappointed about the blade vanes. Loved the idea of flying over the top of stuff, but then saw the cluster caltrop rules and got very excited, and decided I'm definitely keeping them in the force. Can you imagine running 2 units of 9, going around popping vehicles all over the place, causing an absolute nightmare? Would be tempting to do that, and they're not as expensive as they used to be. As I said, 16 points each. Just take a unit of 9. So you're looking at about 145 points, and then you can just take the cluster caltrops. You're going to keep the unit under 200 points, and it's a unit that can take on loads of different targets very, very fast indeed. So good at Dark Eldar choice, that one. Then Hellions. There's been a sometimes they perform really well in games, sometimes they don't. They get blown away. So they're fragile, but they're good if you can get them into combat. And again, their cost, I believe, has dropped down. I think they used to be 16 points. They're now 13, which is cheap enough. Jump infantry. Again, they've got hit and run as well. The Heliglaive is going to be +1 strength, and their AP 5, and but only a base of 1 attack. So Hellions all right. You've got to remember that both these units as well have the combat drugs. You're going to get a bonus, one type of bonus or the other for these as well, so they're going to get that upgrade. It's going to vary every time, but that just gives them a little edge, makes them a bit better as well. So yeah, take Hellions, use them as a little opportunistic unit. The best I've seen them do is when they've been held back in the first few turns, waiting for the fighting to die down a bit, and then they've been released and sent out, and then have started hunting down different units. Being able to move around the table, not being picked on in the shooting phase. That's when I've seen these used the best, so that's the kind of tactica for them. But we're going to get to the overall tactica for the Eldar as we go into the army philosophy later on in the rules here. Razorwing jet fighter, I love the model, and still the same kind of setup. You have to pay, see, you could use this as a good anti-infantry sort of a unit hunting kind of flyer if you kept the disintegrator cannons, and then you could fire those 2 plus 2 missiles. You'd be able to mop up units of different armor types pretty effectively each turn. So if you want to go down that route of anti-infantry with it, it's a cheaper version and pretty effective, still effective, and you can still be able to shoot light armor as well. Not too bad. The route I've gone down really is anti-tank with the 2 Dark Lances, and then the missiles are helpful as well if you're going to mop up ground targets later on. This performance, again, it's been a mixed performance from this one. Some games it's come on, it's taken out really heavy targets, done very well. Other games it's been shot to bits and it hasn't contributed at all. So it's a mixed that one, but Dark Eldar air power has improved, as you're going to see a bit later. So next one on fast attack here is Scourges. Probably one of our worst performing units in my force. I suspected that would be the case. Deep strike them down, the opponent reacts to them, blows them away. Not tough enough, the armor value is not strong enough, and then they're lost. And I'd virtually given up on them, but for one rule that they have put in that has made these guys, I think, very, very good. Now they're 16 points each, so they're pretty expensive still, but you get that 4-up save, which isn't bad, and then 6+ inbon as well. Their standard weapon shell carbine is pretty good. A lot of shots, 3 shots there, sort of a medium kind of range. medium to short kind of range. But the rule that's really swayed it for me with these, I'm not sure if they're going to be in the force, but if I did take them, it says here up to 4 Scourges may take items from the special weapons and or heavy weapons list. So there's no restriction, you don't have to have a unit of 20 in order to take that. You can just take a unit of 5 and give 4 of them heavy weapons straight off. That is pretty good. There's a number of ways you can use them. I thought that one effective way would be to take, I would just take 4 of the same thing. So 4 Dark Lances is an option, but it's expensive, I wouldn't really go down that route. 4 Splinter Cannons, you better chuck out a lot of shots that way, but still quite costly. The Heat Lance, in order to use that effective, you're going to have to get close, and then if you get close to the jump infantry, the opponent's going to turn around, blow them away. You want to be able to cause damage from long range, so Splinter Cannon would be good, or, which I think would be the best, is the Haywire Blaster. 24-inch range, there's no minimal range for it to be effective. You've got 24 inches, which is a good enough distance between you and the opponent. You don't even have to deep strike them, you can deploy the Scourges with your main force. Jump 12 and then you can let out those haywire shots. You're going to get freeze to hit, say you're going to hit with 3 of them. You've got a vehicle with 3 hard points, you need to get 3 rolls of 2+, and that vehicle is finished. That, I think, is a deadly combination. And I could also imagine 2 units of Scourges, all armed with haywire blasters. So those 2 units working together, picking on vehicles, taking them out. So if one unit fires and it half kills it, the second unit can then fire, coordinate the fire together and take out vehicles every turn. If you just took 5 and no other upgrades apart from the weapons, that's 80 plus 40 is 120. It's cheap enough. Maybe upgrade to a Solarite just to give you that extra morale, but I think that's a brilliant upgrade for those to take. So Scourges are good, but it all depends on how you configure them. I think is going to be the main key for those. So it's the Dark Eldar fast attack options, I think, are the exciting things for them. I think Games Workshop, they've looked at all of the units, and they're doing this with all the codexes, and they're really ironing out a lot of the problems, making all these forces, I think, competitive enough. So that's fast attack. Going on to heavy support now, and going into an area that I never really looked at, and took an interest in the Talos and the Kronos because I found that it's a glass hammer army, as it's been called. Dark Eldar aren't particularly tough. One of the issues was toughness in the force. And I used to find that trouble with my Eldar as well, and the way to combat the toughness issue is to take out some weak units and replace them with tough units to push up the toughness in your army. And the Talos is a really good option, I think. So 120 points, you're getting a strength 7, toughness 7 monstrous creature. Toughness 7 is very, very good. That's tougher than most Tyranid monstrous creatures. Even initiative's pretty good at 4. Weapon skill 5, it's handy to have that weapon skill 5. You're up against regular range, you're going to hit on freeze. 3 attacks basic, but you will get 2 close combat weapons here. You're going to get an extra attack there, that's 4, and then 5 on the charge. It's a healthy enough amount of attacks. You have to remember this when you're taking hits, it has feel no pain as standard. So if you foul a save, which is 3+ anyway at toughness 7, you then get feel no pain on top of that. Plus fearless, you don't have to worry about morale, you can wander around, deny ground, sneak up and attack enemy units or use them to defend objectives. So, and at 120 points, I would take Chain Flails at 5 points, just lets you re-roll your wounds, which for 5 points is an excellent upgrade. Comes with his twin link splinter cannon as standard. My vision of him is moving him around the table, either holding him back and using the splinter cannon to provide supporting fire, or moving up slowly and then still using the splinter cannon as he closes in for the kill. So I'd probably keep that, but you do have other options here. You can take an Ichor Injector, twin link liquefy gun, Stinger Pod, twin link heat lance, twin link haywire blaster. But I'd probably just keep the points down and use them as standard loadout, and then gear him towards close combat. Kronos, I looked at him, he's cheaper at 100 points, but he's only strength 5, weapon skill's only 3, and he's just not quite as good here. He's got other good options and things, but it would be more the Talos, and just the look of it. I do like the look of the Talos as well. It's a strange looking model, and I think that can help you in games, and you field a unit that looks really odd and strange, and then his stat line's pretty strong, and it just adds an intimidating figure to your force. So hopefully he'll feature in the new army, love to see, and hopefully he'll perform well in games. So onto the Ravager as a heavy support. It's a cheap enough one, 110 points. You now have to pay to replace the disintegrator cannons with Dark Lancers at 5 points each. Just depends on the role. It's clear cut. You can go for anti-vehicle and you can pay the upgrade there at 5 points each and have to take 3 Dark Lancers, or you can go for anti-heavy infantry and keep the disintegrator cannons, and you can have 9 shots there, which is good. I mean, they could, again, like a pair of those working together, 220 points if you didn't take any upgrades, and they can hunt around, chuck out 9 shots, 18 shots at AP2. They could pick on enemy units pretty effectively. So I think the Ravager is a good option. Again, you've got 2 choices you can go down. You can try and protect your vehicles and upgrade them a fair bit to protect them, but when you do that your points cost starts to go up. Or you can just keep them as they are, take the risk, not upgrade them, but saving in points for you to be able to spend the points on other units. That's more the direction I'm going down. Not too many upgrades for these units, and that means I can create a bigger Dark Eldar force, and hopefully that will pay off. So Void Raven Bomber, Games Workshop released the new model. Was tempted to try and make a conversion of 2 Razor Wings, cut them and bump them together, but Games Workshop released this, and it's a beautiful model, very, very nice indeed. It's an excellent addition now to the Dark Eldar forces. It's 160 points. You start taking missiles and the points cost is crazy. So, and they are good missiles, but that's a lot of points there for those. 40 points for 4 Shatterfield, 2 Shatterfield, 2 Implosion, that's 50 points, and 4 Implosion missiles, 60 points. They're good missiles, but that's a lot of points there for that upgrade. I'm going to replace both Void Lancers with 2 Dark Scythes at no cost, and you can take Night Shields at 15 points. It's up to you if you do those things. It's a good enough vehicle. The Void Lancers are good. They're strength 9 lance, so it's a lance weapon but strength 9, so you're going to reduce the armor down and then punch through on a high strength at 9. So that's good weaponry there, both for shooting at ground targets and also for taking on other flyers. And then the Void Mine you can use when you fly over the top of an enemy, you can drop the Void Mine. So that's good as well. Just wary for the Dark Eldar. I think good air cover will be important. Dark Eldar units, not really many ground units that can fire up at enemy flyers, so your own option really is to take air support to protect you in the skies. Now there's 2 good options that you can take for the Dark Eldar, so that area is covered pretty well. So then just on to they've started to introduce this here, where you can take a themed unit formations, which is good. I think it's a good idea because each race is different. So you've got a Carbonite raiding party here. By all means take that, there's no cost in points and you get some bonuses. I haven't got enough units to meet that criteria. Oh, very nice setup there. Right, so onto some key elements now for the Dark Eldar. So, just do these in order. Combat drugs. So after determining Warlord traits before deployment, roll a d6 and look up the result. on the table. So all those units that have got combat drugs, that's me, if I take them, it's Reavers, Witches, Hellions, they're all combat drugs based units. So they will get here, any one of these upgrades per game. So it's either going to be +1 attack, which is excellent, +1 strength, which is excellent, +1 initiative, not so good, initiative's high anyway, Painbringer +1 toughness, which is very, very good, Serpentine +1 weapon skill, that's okay, and then Splinter Mine +1 leadership, that's alright, but I'd take attack, strength and toughness, any of those I think is a brilliant one. So combat drugs, I think they're really good, so that's why a lot of my units are combat drug based. That bonus there can really beef up your force. We'll go on to power from pain now. It's changed. Units don't gain the tokens like they used to. It's just all based on the turn of the game. So the Dark Eldar start off quite calm, and then they get more and more agitated and infuriated as the game goes on, and then they just go into a murderous frenzy in the last few turns of the game, and they've reflected that now. At the start of each game turn, look up on the game turn number from the Power from Pain table. All models with the Power from Pain special rule, which is most of them, gain the rule listed on the table in addition to any other special rules they have. So, and this here I'm going to use it to influence the way I fight battles from now on with the Dark Eldar. And it's going to affect the tactica that I'm going to use for the force, and then the way I've constructed my force as well. So first turn you don't get any bonuses. Second turn you get Feel No Pain 6+, which is hardly anything. Turn 3 is when it starts to kick in. You get Feel No Pain. It's 5+ to all those units that are based on Power from Pain. Just have a quick look here. So Power from Pain, it's not going to affect the Talos. Scourges will get it. Hellions will get it. Reavers get it. Power from Pain, yeah, Mandrakes will get it. Incubi are going to get it. Witches are going to get it. Carbonite Warriors are going to get it. It's all very good here. And then the Succubus, yes. And then the Archon, yeah. Just checking that there, you do get it. So the vast, non-vehicle units in your force, the vast majority of them are going to get this bonus. So turn 3, Feel No Pain. All those units I just looked at are going to get 5+ Feel No Pain. All the Witches and the Hellions and the Reavers. So suddenly they've got a bit more survivability. Then turn 4, they'll get Furious Charge. So I'm looking at turn 1, turn 2. It's going to control the way I play the game. Turn 1 is taking no risks and shooting. So you're holding back and then shooting. And then to be able to do that, you want long range weapons to be able to pick off targets. So Dark Lances, Splinter Cannons, things that are going to pick off enemy units, enemy vehicles at long range and not put yourself at risk. Again, I'll do the same thing on turn 2 and also manoeuvre on that turn. So start moving stuff up ready for the charge, but still keeping a healthy distance away. And you're just playing to the advantages that you're going to get granted later on in the game. Problem with that is that you are sacrificing 2 turns where you should be closing in to the enemy position. You're not doing that, you're holding back. Therefore, that would be a bad idea to take a foot-based army. If they're having to stand back for 2 turns and then start moving up, they're not going to reach enemy position. So then that means, I think it's going to be important that the whole army is mechanised and they're fast. So it would be important the whole army is mechanised and fast so that you are able to get up there quickly, so that you can hold back first few turns and then take one turn just to get up, so zoom straight up the table, disembark, and then feel no pain, furious charge. Then as you're getting stuck in the later turns, you're taking casualties, the enemy's piling in. Turn 5, you're then going to get fearless on top of that. So you're still charging around on the second, your second assault. You've done your first assault, you've got in, you've won a combat, you've survived, and then you're going for your second assault. Still a furious charge, but now fearless. So you're taking casualties, but fearless is granted to you, and it's going to cover all those units, it's going to get fearless. And then turn 6 onwards, which is where, if a Dark Eldar player's still got a sizable force left, and he then gets rage at the end, so these units are going to be absolute psychos, and are going to get a lot of attacks as they go in. So there's, and that to me also means there's smaller units that you can hold back, and there's key units I think you're going to need to keep alive. Priority is to keep them alive so they can get to turn 4, 5 and 6. Not to throw units away, but keeping stuff alive. You're trying to prevent that glass hammer. And just thinking of it now, in the previous games of the Dark Eldar, turns 1, 2, 3 was where damage was done, and then there was no recovery. The game was lost early, and it was an uphill struggle from then on. So preserve yourself on turns 1, 2 and 3, and then let loose in the second half of the game. But to do that, you're going to need speed to get up there quick and make an impact. So that's really, as I said, it's going to control the way I play the games from now on with Dark, and I've got to remember this philosophy here and play to the advantages that you're given. Stay alive at the early part, and then full force in the latter stages of the game. So on to Warlord traits now. Usually I don't like taking traits from the codexes, often they're not that particularly good. The only one that stands out for me at the moment is the Tower one, which I've got a Tower Commander and the command traits, and they're excellent for him. So we're going to look at the Dark Eldar traits here. So the first one here, if you roll a 1, is Ancient Evil. The Warlord and all friendly units with the Dark Eldar faction within 12 have the Fear special rule. So that's not bad, that's not particularly amazing. So he has fear, and all units within 12 of him have fear. So yeah, it could mess up the opponent as you go into combat if he fails some of those tests. So it could cause trouble, but not particularly amazing. Labyrinthine Cunning. If you roll a 2, the Dark Eldar player can re-roll the dice when they attempt to seize initiative. Not particularly impressive. Determine night fighting rules are in effect. It's handy. And then when they make reserve rolls, yes, okay, that is a good trait roll to have. Re-rolling reserves, particularly good, and then re-rolling night fighting if you want it. Yeah. If you're going to link that in with wanting to be protected on turn 1, then that's a good one to take. Soul First. So the Warlord has the Rage special rule. So that's just an extra attack there on the charge. It's not bad, it's alright, take that. Hatred special, oh sorry, Hatred Eternal. If you're a 4, the Warlord has the Hatred special rule. It's handy enough. Not incredible, but it's not bad. Blood Dancer. The Warlord receives +1 to the weapon skill characteristic in his profile. It's poor, because he's already weapon skill 7 anyway, so that's not particularly impressive. And then number 6, Towering Arrogance. Warlord and all friendly units with the Dark Eldar faction within 12 inches of the Warlord have the Fearless special rule. That's alright, but bearing in mind you will get Fearless anyway, turn 5 onwards. And if you're meched up anyway, if you're in mechanised transports, then that is not going to be too helpful. It's alright. So Warlord traits, they're okay, I'd say they're average. There's a couple of good ones in there. Number 2, particularly impressed with. The others are all okay, and there's a couple of poor ones. So I might make a roll on there. It just depends. So just the weapons there. As I said, Chain Flowers. You get the Shred special rule with those. I think it's a good upgrade to take for the Talos. The Agonizer is still the strength of the user, but it's poisoned at 4+, and it's AP free. So that's decent enough. It's expensive in points, but it means you can take on any toughness opponent with them, so I still like that. The Archite Glaive is a nice weapon to take. There's the Demi-Glaives there, which you can take for the Incubi, but it's an expensive upgrade to take. There's the Heliglaive there, +1 strength AP5, so it's good for taking on Imperial Guard. For them, Hydro Gauntlets, Ichor Injector, Glaive. This is the glaive here for the Incubi. It is +1 strength, and it's definitely AP2 now. It's melee weapon, two-handed. Then, it's just not going to go through all of these here. The Witch's close combat weapons, not particularly impressive there, not really worth taking them there. I think they're worse off now than they used to be. And yeah, that's the weapon there for the Mandrakes. Range 18, strength 4, AP4, excellent AP value for a little weapon. 2 shots you get, and Soul Blaze on top of that, so that's a decent shooting weapon for them. Then you've got the Dark Light weapons, your Dark Lancers in there. Disintegrated Cannon, both these are at 36 inches, so good for... I wish I took Disintegrated Cannons against those Grey Knights, so I fought against them. That AP2 strength 5 heavy 3 is that's an excellent gun. There's the Haywire Blaster at range 24, strength 4 AP4 Haywire. There's the Heat Lance, doesn't really change, range 18. And then there's the Implosion Missile, strength 6 AP2, that's why it's expensive, but it's only blast, it's alright. Liquefy Gun, was tempted to take that, but just the APD6 is too variable, not reliable enough for me. Monocycle missiles are great, range 48 on those, they're large blast and they're strength 6, I think they're really good. And then just coming across this Shatterfield missile, strength 7 shred, it's good for shooting at things like Space Marines and things. You can reroll your wounds at strength 7, and it's large blast as well, so I think they're pretty good. And then just coming down here, there's the Void Mine, it's strength 9 lance again, AP2, and large blast. It's a reliable shot that you're going to make if you're going to try and drop it on top of a vehicle. There's the Void Lance, strength 9, AP2 lance. It's decent enough. It's the weapon type, there's the armour types there. Right, then Arcane War Gear. There's the Blade Veins, strength 4 and rending. It's decent enough, but cluster caltrops makes the Reavers brilliant. There's the there's Clone Field 4+ Invuln. And then there's your Shadow Field there. There's the Reaver Jet Bike. And the Alien Skybolt. Just covering that. Webway Portal. The philosophy behind my old force was based on this. It's changed now. It just means that if you use the Webway Portal, if you pay for the upgrade, then that unit can deep strike and it won't scatter when it arrives. So you can take that. It's expensive enough to do it. I don't see the need for it anymore, so the Webway Portal philosophy for my force is gone. That's freed up points and it's made the army more flexible, I think, now. It's not based upon the Webway Portal Tactica. My force is more adaptable, I think, because when I used to move forwards, deploy the Webway Portal, the opponent knew where the enemy was coming from. They're all coming out the Webway Portal and it's predictable and you could react to it, and it wasn't as effective as I thought it would be. So Webway Portal is no more in the force, and I've now changing philosophies, and hopefully I think there's good potential in this Dark Eldar army. Dark Eldar vehicle upgrades, I haven't really gone into them, because I haven't gone down that route of paying out extra. I'm trying to keep the army big and not go down the route of protecting vehicles. It's really annoying when you've paid a load of upgrades on a vehicle and then it gets blown up anyway, and you've paid all those points and you've then lost all those points. You know, a 55 point vehicle becomes 80, 90 points with a load of upgrades, and then it gets blown up and you've lost a lot of points trying to protect something that's weak anyway. enhanced alpha sales would be handy. You can go flat out 24 inches. That would be handy enough for you to get to your opponent quick. So that's a tempting one to go for. Grizzly Trophy is handy enough if you're going to have mech and then deploying foot stuff, especially defensively like the Carbonite Warriors. Splinter Racks is brilliant. All Splinter weapons have twin linked, a special rule. So that's excellent if you're going to go for mechanised Carbonite Warriors. Chucking out lots of shots, they'll all be twin linked, which is excellent. Night Shields, that gives you stealth, which is handy enough to take. And then Shock Prow. When you ram, your armor value is 14, which is very good indeed. Then Artifacts of Cruelty. There's a number on there that look alright. I haven't really had the points to use them up. Just Armour of Misery there, 4+ armour save, 6+ invuln, and then all enemy units within 6 have -2 leadership penalty. That's decent enough if you're in combat and you beat your opponent by a narrow margin, but then he suffers a -2 leadership penalty on top of that, so it's handy. Another one I found was Parasite's Kiss. 12-inch range pistol. It's 2+ to wound. It's master crafted. That's very good. And if you're firing as a, it's AP5 as well. If you're firing as an Archon, a ballistic skill 7 master crafted, and then 2+ to wound, and then if you get the kill, you will regain a lost wound. Parasite's Kiss is a handy little, it's a cheeky little upgrade to take. I'm tempted to give that to the army commander. Upgrade his pistol, and you never know, you're out in the middle in the battlefield and you've wiped out a unit, then it comes to your turn and there's an Imperial Guard unit, you snipe one of the guardsmen and then regain one of the wounds that you've lost. I can imagine doing that for just a small cost in points. So they're doing this now with the codexes. They're giving specialised detachments here, which I think is fine. They're doing that because armies are different, they have different leanings and different philosophies behind them, and then these structures here can let you do that. So the only change is that you get up to 6 fast attack choices, which is a good reflection of how the Dark Eldar are meant to fight. Then if you do that, you get, if this detachment is your primary detachment, you can re-roll the result when rolling on the Warlord traits table in Codex Dark Eldar. So I think that restricts you just to the Warlord traits table just in this codex, not the general one in the rulebook. Then Hunt from the Shadows. During the entire first game turn and during any turn in which the night fighting rules are in effect, all troops units from this detachment have a 5+ cover, and all other units from this detachment have a 6+ cover. So it's handy to remember that. And again, helping you stay protected in the first few turns of the game. Extra tactical objectives, unique ones to the Dark Eldar there, and then a handy reference at the end is handy to take, and then weapons summaries there as well. So that's the review for Dark Eldar. I've enjoyed collecting them, I've enjoyed painting them. I'm happy with the colour scheme that I've done. I think Dark Eldar are better now with the codex. I think there's opportunity there to make a really good force. They've got the Void Raven bomber sorted out and newly released, which is very good. Dark Eldar have come on a long way, I think, and I think I know the philosophy that I'm going down. So the old Webway Portal philosophy is out, a couple of units are going to be dropped, and then some new units coming in, and then keeping the units that have done well. Units that have done well in the old codex I think will do well with this new codex also, but we'll have to see how it goes. So that's the codex review. So I review the codex. The good thing about the Dark Eldar is that 80% of my force, 78% of the force is already done. I have the new units that I'm taking, and plan to get those done. So the next thing along for the Dark Eldar will be a full army Tactica. So we're going to revisit the Dark Eldar Tactica video. Going to make a fresh new one with a new codex and a new force. You'll see the new units, new philosophy, the new loadout and build for the army, and then we can then take it into games and see how well it does. And just to mention again, Skycast, he's good for Dark Eldar Tactica videos and battle reports. Check out his YouTube channel. That's the video for the codex. That's the first step I'd advise you to take. Get the codex, read it through, take your time, and get a couple of units that you like, and then start to build up your force from there, and then play games with them as you go along, and then you'll soon learn what works and what doesn't work for you. So there it is. Check out the other codex reviews on the channel. Also there's Tactica videos. I review the codex, and if I have the army I do the Tactica video for that force to see how it works, and then check out the battle reports for these forces as well. And then also the painting tutorials. There is a full Dark Eldar painting tutorial on the channel. I show you how I paint my Dark Eldar in the scheme. I show you how to paint a Carbonite warrior, and you can then take that colour scheme and apply it to all the other Dark Eldar units and vehicles. Follow that along, and then you will be able to paint the Dark Eldar in the style that I do them. So that's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.